If you've been watching this channel for a long time, you guys know that I always talk about what are the best ways to invest. Well, today I'm going to be talking about one of the worst ways you can invest, specifically in real estate. And this comes from personal experiences from my family and people that I know specifically. And it's knowledge that I've always had since I was a kid. And now I'm going to share it with you guys for the first time about the worst investment you can make in real estate. There's one specifically, but I'm going to talk about a few. So I'll tell you the story first. Let me start off. So my grandma and grandpa, they were real estate investors. So at one time they owned, I think, 7 properties from the 1950s to the 1970s, I think. And then now they're older, now they're in their 80s. And they own their primary residence. That's not an investment, that's a neutral investment, so it's not good or bad. But they also own one condo. They own one condo and they've owned it since the 1978, 1975, somewhere around there, and it's in Toronto. And they were telling me this story. So they've had a lot of real estate investments. They did a lot of good things. They sold properties for hundreds of thousands of dollars more than what they bought them for. Great. And then the one time where they didn't follow their normal rules was with this condo. And I'll tell you their story, then I'll get into some specifics about generally what happens. So their story, they bought this condo for it was like 20-something thousand dollars, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000. It was somewhere around there, between 20 and 50, let's say, between $20 and $50,000 in the 70s. And when they bought it, they were like, okay, this is good. It's cash flowing like $10 a month. Back then that would be like, what, $50 a month? So it's cash flowing a little bit, $10 a month, $20 a month. It's all okay. And then over time, what starts to happen is that something breaks down. And they were telling me these stories about how about every 2 or 3 years, they would have to, because you're a part of a housing association, you are a part of a condominium association where if something common breaks down, everyone has to pay for it. Everyone. And so here's the story that they gave me is that, yeah, every few years, something would break down and then they would have to pay $500, and then it was $1,000, and then the next time it was $2,000, and then I remember a few years ago it was $4,000, and now recently it was $10,000. 2 months ago, a part of the underground parking lot broke down, and everyone that was a part of the association, apart from a handful of people, including my grandparents, voted to each pay $10,000 to fix the underground parking lot. Meanwhile, my grandparents wanted the solution of you can just expand the outdoor one and everyone has to only pay $200 instead of $10,000. And that could have served as a different solution. But nope. So my grandparents have no say in because the majority voted, it's all settled, they have to pay $10,000 out of pocket. And this is really common. You're pretty much forced to pay for needless expenses when you buy single condominiums. So that's why I like to say that single condos are bad. Usually, they can cash flow pretty well when you start off, but then you have no control over a lot of the expenses. If the condominium association wants to all of a sudden raise your maintenance fees from $200 to $300, you cannot do anything about it. You have no control. And you know what happens if you don't pay those fees and if you don't pay the $10,000 that my grandparents have to pay now? You know what happens? They can take it away. It's not a foreclosure, but they can essentially foreclose on it. They can take control because you're part of this association and you're not paying the fees. And so they just take it. They take ownership. They can do it legally. So now what my grandparents said is that when you buy these condos, a lot of the times the maintenance fees just rise over time and you end up paying more, even if it's an investment property, you end up paying more for it than you put in. Because I'll cover these right here. That's my grandparents' story. And so they have ended up putting it in more money than it's worth. And it's been specifically an investment property that they've had for 40 years. So single condos are bad. So I'm going to give you the examples here. So I talked about the HOA fees. That's what they are, HOA fees. So those are fees, they range from $100 to about $700 a month, sometimes a lot more. and that's what you have to pay per month. And that pays for things like garbage, the garbage chute, garbage men coming by, that pays for people cleaning the hallways, that pays for maintenance of the pool, pays for maintenance of the gym. You know, if it's $100, usually that's okay. But those fees can skyrocket and you have no control over it. So HOA fees, they're really bad. And then we're going to talk about, so assessment fees. That's when something breaks down. So when the parking garage broke down, that's an assessment fee. And everyone has to pay thousands and thousands of dollars if something common breaks down. And if it's like a foundational thing, like some concrete, you lost all your money. You just lost your investment. So assessment fees. See what else we got here. We got, regulation. So you have no control over a lot of things. And so if you don't pay your fees on time too, what actually will happen is that these condominium associations will report that to credit bureaus. So it can actually hurt your credit. Quite weird, eh? Quite astounding. So they got rules here too. Oh yeah, there's some rules here. And there's rules and fines, and there's so many. Pretty much, it's just really strict if you invest in single bedroom condos. And so there's some rules here. What do I have here? So some condominium associations, I remember I saw this video from someone online. It was like Phil Pustovsky, and he had a video really similar to this actually, which I probably watched that like 6 months ago. And I do remember the story that he told me. And it was that once his tenant was like a nurse or something that he had in a condo or a townhouse or something along those lines. And the condominium association had a rule where the homeowner would have to pay a fine if the garbage bins weren't brought in at night on like a Tuesday night. If they weren't brought in on a Tuesday night, from Tuesday morning to Tuesday night, then you have to pay like $50 or whatever it is. And so his tenant was like a nurse or something along those lines, and so at night, that's when the nurse would work. Or I think it was a doctor, or it was someone like that who worked during the nights or afternoons. And so Phil kept getting these fines every month, and he couldn't make his tenant pay for that because it wasn't in the contract. And so he had to evict his tenant simply because they didn't follow the condominium association rule. Now Phil doesn't care that if the garbage bins were brought in within a week, he wouldn't care. But the condominium association did. And so that ended up costing him, $25 to $50 a week over the course of 4 weeks or whatever it was. And so, he evicted his tenant just because they had a different work schedule and because the condominium association rules were stupid. Now, sometimes here's the big thing in New York. This is big for New York, and it's hitting Toronto too, New York. And so if you're looking to buy a single bedroom condo, or if you're looking to sell it, let's just say you've already bought a single bedroom condo and you're looking to sell it, and someone offers you full asking price of $350,000 for your condo. In New York, it'd be more like $1 million. So we'll say $1 million. So what happens is that the buyer has to get approved by the condominium association before they buy in. And so if the condominium association, they could have all the money. The person buying it could have all the money, everything, all their ducks could be in a row. But if the condominium people don't like the person, and the person is kind of a dick, they have the complete right to force you not to sell it to that person. Weird, eh? That's in New York specifically. That happens a ton, I've heard. So let's see what else we got here. They have to approve the buyer. Oh yeah. And also, this is along the same lines, happens in New York, is they have to approve work. They have to approve the work that you want done. So if you want to renovate your kitchen sometimes, you have to go through the board. It could delay you a month or 2 months or a week or 2 weeks or 2 months or 3, 4, 5 months. And everyone has to approve it. You have to go through approval process if you want any sort of even minor changes done to your condo. Stupid, absolutely stupid rules. And there's another thing. They tell you specific days that you can move in and out. So if you want to sell your place and move out, you have to go through the board that you can only move out on Tuesday, or you can only move in on Tuesday. They're just dumb rules like that. And so Yeah, generally the rules are set by developers, and current owners have to go through all these like meetings to go through all this stuff. There's also lending problems. Moving into here's another thing too, is that a lot of the times when you buy a condo, an investment condo, the person would be selling because they see an assessment fee coming up. They see a $10,000 fee coming up, and they just want to sell because they don't want to pay that fee. And I guess that they don't have, I don't know what the rules are, the legality of that, but I guess that sometimes they don't need to tell you that there's an assessment fee coming up. So that's another thing too to watch out for. Lenders may not want to lend lenders may not want to lend if there are too many investors. That's another thing too. And so you might not be able to get a mortgage for your investment condo because if there's too many investors and not enough people living in the apartment building, people that own the apartment and live in it, then they might not lend to you. Why is this? Because banks and mortgage companies think that people that are first time, or people that live in the place that they're buying, they will take care of it better than a renter would, which is true. That's fair. But they actually really take that into account. And for example, there's a bunch of stuff like how you for sure need an 80% down payment on any property, 20% down payment on any property that you don't live in. And so that's because banks aren't comfortable with renters living there all the time, and that the homeowner isn't looking after the place. So that's something interesting. Now we're going to talk about some other things here. Townhomes. So townhomes, specifically in a condominium association, in a homeowners association, HOA, they're harder to sell because usually there's two types of buyers. People want to live downtown and live by themselves and have all the features that come with living in a condo, like the gym, all that. Or they want privacy and want a single family home and they want their own space. Townhomes gives you neither. You don't get the benefits of a condo of living downtown most of the time, and you don't get the benefit of privacy most of the time because you have a neighbor attached to you, so you can still hear them through the walls a lot of the times. So that's another downside. Let's see, associations have weird rules. And I guess one last thing is that for single family associations, so what the worst way to invest in real estate is if you have to buy into an association of some sort. That's what this video is about. So single family homes that are in an association. So some cul-de-sac communities are like this, or private communities, or some gated communities that are really rich have these too. And in those communities, it is part of the association where you have to conform. So if you want your house painted yellow, you cannot paint it yellow a lot of the times. You have to stay whatever the classic color is, the brown, boring brick color. You're not allowed to change your house's color because it doesn't fit the neighborhood. It doesn't fit the association. If you want to make your house stand out at all, you're not allowed. If you want to change your roof, you're not allowed. If you want to, and any changes that you do want to make inside the house, you have to go through your community as well, your association as well. And what's also funny, the last thing I'll leave you with, is that those associations, a lot of the times, they have a deal with certain contractors or certain material companies. So if you want your house done and you want your roof done, and you see online that there's this company that does it for $8,000, and it's perfect, and it's this certain material, and this guy's going to be working on it, your homeowners association can say, no, we have this guy, he does it for $12,000, you have to use him, or else we're going to take control of your house. So that's what this video is about. The worst way to invest in real estate is if you are a part of a homeowners association where you don't have control over anything. So if you're going to look in investing in apartments or condos, make sure you invest in the entire building. You buy the entire building, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million. So that's why I recommend only buy multifamily places most of the times. Now there's certain cases where it's okay, student housing, that's okay. If you buy both sides of a townhome for investment, sometimes that's okay. But for the large part, I mean, single condo investing or buying into an association is is just not good because you have no control over anything. So that's what it is. The worst way to invest in real estate is to buy into an association and have no control. Take it from my grandparents. This was one of their very few financial regrets that I've ever talked about. I've talked about how letting family into business, that was their biggest one, and this was number 2. Buying a single condo as an investment property. So if you guys are looking into buying condos, make sure that you buy the entire condominium and that you have complete say. And if you don't have the money, get into a multifamily place, a duplex, a triplex, where you own the entire property and you get to decide what you do with it. So that's going to wrap this video up. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people. I'll see you guys in the next video.